Please welcome Dr. Donald Sweeting, President of Colorado Christian University.
Hey everybody, get back to where you once belonged. Words more prophetic than you know. The theme around Colorado Christian University these days is found in a Latin phrase that is, maybe you've heard, it's ad fontes. It's actually the medieval Latin version of the song, Get Back. It is. It means get back to the fountain, get back to the sources. It was the motto of the Renaissance and the Reformation. It was taken from Psalm 42 in the Latin Vulgate, which says, in the same way the deer is drawn to the sources of water, so my soul is drawn to you, O Lord. And it was saying, get back. So what was the fountain that they were supposed to get back to? Well, in the Renaissance and Reformation, it was get back to the sources of learning and life, classical and biblical sources. For medieval saints and Protestant reformers, it was get back to Jesus Christ and to get back to the Bible. And we know from history that when Christ came to this world, he unleashed an educational impulse that gave birth to a schooling movement that eventually gave birth to the Western University that has become a model to the world. These were the headwaters of learning. And I often wonder, what if America's colleges and universities were to get back? Do you? Not become pre-modern, not go back to 1096 when Oxford was founded, not go back to 1636 when Harvard was founded, but get back to the original vision that gave birth to all these schools. Because the educational path we've been on in our colleges and universities is bearing a lot of rotten, dysfunctional fruit these days. We have lost the higher part of higher learning. We've not only lost the compass, we've lost our ability to read the compass. I went to a workshop today with many of you entitled The Suicide of the University. And we were reminded of how a progressive ideology is threatening our schools and ruining not only humanities departments and social science departments, but the minds of a younger generation. The American college campus has not only become largely secularized, it's become hostile to conservative ideas, but it's become hostile to the very tradition that gave it its birth. And so we're seeing more and more colleges and universities become an adversary culture to Western culture. And you sense it, I know you do, because I've heard too many parents arrive on our campus, parents of students, and they're saying, what happened to my alma mater? My alma mater isn't what she used to be. And we feel it as a university because our enrollments just keep growing. We're in our 8th year and facing our 9th year of record enrollments at Colorado Christian University. It's exciting. We've been called a lot of names recently. 5280 magazine did an article on us this spring, and they called us Conservative U. How's that? That's a title we're not ashamed of. Hugh Hewitt, the best talk show host in America, who is Catholic, wrote me a note and said, I think of CCU as the lantern of the Rockies. He said, I believe it's been uniquely positioned in time and geography to serve as one of the lanterns we need. He said, I've long called Hillsdale the lantern of the North. And he said, originally Elgin Cathedral in Scotland was called the lantern of the North. But he said, I think of CCU as the lantern of the Rockies. So anything I can do for the cause of Christ and country and CCU serves both. And yeah. And then there was Dr. Michael Poliakoff. Michael Poliakoff was the Vice President of Academic Affairs and Research at the University of Colorado. He is now the President of ACTA, the American Council of Trustees and Alumni. He was at CCU recently, and in his speech, he referred to CCU as a light to the nation. He applied a phrase from the prophet Isaiah about Israel to CCU. We were humbled and daunted by those kind of words, but CCU is a special place. In many ways, it's like other universities, but in significant ways, it's different. We're different from the secular university because we're not post-Christian, we're not post-truth, we're not post-virtue, we're not post-meaning, we're not post-reason. People are talking that way today in the university, believe it or not. We're not driven by the soft nihilism and postmodern subjectivism that afflicts so many schools. When Bill Armstrong came to CCU, he had an agenda and set priorities before CCU. They were called strategic objectives or priorities. It was his battle plan. It had 13 points. Let me read them to you. Number 1, we will honor Christ and share the love of Christ on campus and around the world. Number 2, we will teach students to trust the Bible and live holy lives and be evangelists. Number 3, we'll be a magnet for outstanding students and prepare them for positions of significant leadership in the church, business, government, and professions by offering an excellent education in strategic disciplines. Number 4, we'll teach students how to learn. Number 5, we'll teach students how to think for themselves. Number 6, we'll teach students how to speak and write clearly and effectively. Number 7, we'll give students opportunities to serve the Lord while they're at CCU and help them develop a lifetime habit of service. And listen to number 8. We will impact culture in support of traditional family values, sanctity of life, compassion for the poor, biblical view of human nature, limited government, personal freedom, free markets, natural law, original intent of the Constitution, and Western civilization. There were a few others. Number 9, be seekers of truth. Number 10, debunk spent ideas. Number 11, ask God to multiply our time and ability to glorify his name. Number 12, be a servant of the church. And thus, number 13, become a great university. Now, Bill Armstrong said there isn't any other college or university anywhere in the world that has pledged itself to those kinds of cultural reforms that we were going to undertake. Now, we said last night, education is a conservative project. It's a conservation project. It's one of the ways that we fortify freedom in our time. There's an important task of transmission. And a lot of criticism has come to conservatives these days, and they tell us we don't care about education. But the truth is, we do care about education. It's part of who we are. It's just that we believe in educational sanity, right? So our recipe at CCU is an old one. There are 3 pillars to what we do. At CCU, we educate the old-fashioned way: competence, character, and faith. Christ-centered faith. Competence, the first pillar. We train students in core subjects that will prepare them broadly: English composition, English literature, natural science, mathematics, American history, Western history, economics. We believe in the transmission of a core knowledge of our civilization. That's part of what we do. We want to pass that on. Then, on top of that, we teach in the disciplines and the professions: communication, psychology, business, theology, education, IT, STEM. We have 100 different majors. Unfortunately, over time, American education has just focused on competence. Our vision has narrowed, and in the process, we have omitted even the gen ed courses and the core curriculum, so that students now graduate from so many schools, and they don't write well, and they don't do math, and they don't do science, and they're ignorant of our history. Pillar number 1 is competence. We begin with competence. But secondly, the pillar that we believe is part of our educational formula is character. Now, that used to be a big part of education in our country, but no longer. It's been well documented that most schools have abandoned an interest in training in character. One president of an Ivy League college recently said, "We cannot give your kids a moral education. All we can teach them is to ask questions." And we want to teach them to ask questions, great questions, but we want them to have character. Teaching competency alone falls short. Why, it was even Martin Luther King who said, "Education without morals is like a ship without a compass, merely wandering nowhere." Teddy Roosevelt, some time ago, early in the 20th century said, "A man who has gone to school may steal from a freight train, but if he has a university education and no character, he may steal the whole railroad." Great point. Bill Armstrong said it even more poignantly. He said, "The world doesn't need another university making smarter devils." So at CCU, we don't just teach knowledge, but ethics. Not just career, but character. We talk about moral virtues and principles. Character is bedrock. Based on strong moral virtues, we try to teach them to be consistent. That's key to what we do. Competence, character, and then the third pillar that's part of our educational recipe is faith. Faith in permanent things, faith in natural law and in God-ordained reality, faith in God and His purpose for life, faith in Christ because we're a Christ-centered university, and we believe, as Scripture says, that in Jesus are hidden all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. And so we do add to our core Old Testament and New Testament and apologetics and spiritual formation and a Christian worldview. So they integrate their learning with their faith. And they have not just mental habits, but habits of the heart where they begin to love what is good. We want them to have a faith that works, teaching them to love their neighbor and teach everyone, consider everyone with dignity and respect. We want this to overflow in an ethic of service and in a sense of not just a job that they're going to hold, but a calling for life. So competence, character, and faith. That's our educational formula. 3 pillars. But sadly, today, it's a formula that's been abandoned. Faith went first. Then went character. Then went core knowledge. And then people started talking about the closing of the American mind, and the closing of the liberal mind, and the suicide of the university. By the way, let me say our formula is fiercely opposed today. It's not loved by the PC crowd. They find it offensive. They tell us they want diversity, but not this kind of diversity. Some state governments attack it. Some accreditors want to undermine it. The federal government, under a previous administration, tried to change it with a Dear Colleague letter. But I'm telling you, there is life in this formula. It is a proven formula. There's a lot of building going on at CCU these days, but this is our central building project. Building students with this kind of foundation, characterized by exceptional competence, solid character, and deep faith. Students who will become world changers. And friends, this formula is not new. It is not strange. It is very old. It's a conservative formula. It has huge implications for culture. It is key to the opening of the American mind. And it is no secret. It was there at the foundation of all the great Western universities. It was there at the foundation of our nation. It was there at the foundation of all the great early American universities. It was there at the foundation of many of our Colorado universities. It was there at the foundation of Colorado Christian University, and it's what makes CCU special today as a lantern for the Rockies. So I want to thank you for your support and encouragement. Please stand for the religious freedom of schools like ours. Please don't forget that education is a conservative project, and please do not let this light go out. Thank you all. God bless you.